Biodiversity. The diversity of life. Biodiversity can come as species diversity or the diversity of species within an ecosystem, genetic diversity or the diversity of a species gene pool, and/or ecosystem diversity or the overall diversity of an ecosystem. Ecosystems are made up of the connections between living things, which biodiversity comes from and strengthens. Therefore, in the case of disaster, the ecosystem can rebound. If a species goes extinct, the niche will be refilled and the ecosystem can live on. Austin's Blackland Prairie and Edwards Plateau ecoregions are very biodiverse because of the unique endemic species to it and the sheer abundance of species in the prairie. Biodiversity strengthens ecosystems.
Fortunately, while Austin's Blackland, Prairie, Edwards, and Plateau ecosystems are rare and unique, there are becoming rarer and development expands the growing the population of Austin. While opportunities for green space are endless, we still have only 18,994 acres preserved as the city parks and redeeming practices from earlier years have placed unequal amounts of green spaces around certain parts of Austin. It sounds like a lot, but in reality, habitat loss is worse than ever for a native animal.
It is hard to imagine habitat and biodiversity loss during the vibrant Texas spring. It is happening. Have you ever had local construction? Austin continues to expand. And if measures are not taken to preserve some of the rarest ecosystems in the world, they will be swallowed. As you can see here, the Blackland Prairie has very fertile soils, so much of it has been plowed for farmland. And the Edwards Plateau homes some of the most rare endemic species in the world. They rely on this ecosystem, and if the ecosystem is weakened by development, where does that leave them? While not only trees and prairie are being destroyed for development, the animals that do survive the loss of their homes and the necessities that we all rely on, water, food, shelter, etc., are forced to adapt quickly in a new environment. The pests we see too often are not there by choice. How many are refugees from their original home? These necessities, imagine them in a new environment. What if the water in someone's neighborhood is polluted, or the cover that these animals seek is someone's front yard? And worse, if these plants and animals do survive it, they're solutions to our problems like erosion and climate change. They're kind of our hope. But what other fights are these creatures undergoing? They also have to deal with, in an urban ecosystem, excessive storm runoff, invasive plants, compacted soil, you name it, it's there. It's a totally different ecosystem in the city, or the country, or whatever else land has been developed and these plants now have to face. What other battles are they fighting? Did you know prairies used to stretch all the way from Canada to Texas? This is used to because of habitat loss, which weakens ecosystems and species, sometimes to the point of extinction or collapse. These problems are magnified when the resistance of the ecosystem is reduced through loss of biodiversity. Well, let's build biodiversity. It helps us solve these problems. But how? One solution is pocket prairies. Tiny pockets of prairie, which is what they sound like and are. Why are they helpful? Because they can fit into urban communities and ecosystems so that they can help the displaced animals that were there when the city was built. The animals that lost their homes. Pocket prairies are tiny little pockets, sometimes only as small as, say, my bedroom. But when you build up pocket prairies bit by bit, you can kind of create a patchwork quilt of the prairie we've lost. This provides havens for animals that are local or migrating and need a bit of rest. They can live in their own tiny ecosystem. And it not only helps the animals, but it also preserves the species and the native plants there, which can also help the land, strengthening it with their roots and preventing soil erosion and soil compaction. The air quality and water quality are also helped. These are all benefits of biodiversity, which is why we can hope to create pocket prairies one bit at a time. Because if we do one bit at a time over and over again, and everyone puts in their bit, Then slowly we begin to weave something special. Slowly we make an impact. And together we can grow something that really makes a difference. Maybe we won't stop climate change just with pocket prairies, but we can help it. Maybe we won't solve habitat loss, but we will help it. And bit by bit, we'll make a difference through the tiny pocket prairies and the tiny choices that we make and you make, just one seed at a time. As you can see, biodiversity can have an important impact on ecosystems, solving their problems by increasing their natural strength. According to the Ladybird Johnson Wildlife Center, the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, and the Katy Prairie Conservancy, as well as other sources, pocket prairies can improve water and soil quality, solve compacted soil and erosion problems, store carbon and help fight climate change, preserve habitat and species that are native to the area, and provide havens for species that have lost their habitats already. Remember the image we showed earlier? It was from Austin.gov, and it states that animals in neighborhoods are there due to habitat loss. While it may seem that green spaces would just bring more animals to your neighborhood, it actually provides another opportunity for them so they can get to a habitat that they can survive in, other than, say, your neighborhood. Therefore, mammals and reptiles can go there instead of your neighborhood, and birds and insects can hang out there as well, or they could take a trip to your bird feeder or garden. While a challenge at first, once established, pocket prairies can function like tiny ecosystems. They can bring these benefits to you, your neighborhood, and ecosystems in your local area. And if you don't want to plant a pocket prairie, you can plant a garden. I planted a garden about 3 years ago, and it is now established. It brings benefits to me. It brings bees, butterflies, hummingbirds. I get to watch them out my window. And it blooms every spring with beautiful flowers. And it survived Winter Storm Uri, putting out new leaves, in fact, when other landscaping died. Native plants are more durable and more suited to the area, and they can bring joy to you and the environment. How to make a pocket prairie in 5 steps. Step 1. Observe your space. What kind of spot are you putting your ecosystem in? Sun, soil, pre-existing plants, these are all factors you need to consider, and they determine what kind of plants your pocket prairie can support. 2. Get your dirt ready. You need a level playing field, literally and figuratively. Make sure it's tilled to get the non-native seeds out so your plants have a chance and a place to grow. How to make a pocket prairie. Step 3. Choose your seeds. You can use resources like wildflower.org, which has a seed catalog that can determine what plants that you can use in full sun, partial sun, and in your region. Make sure they're native plants and not non-native plants. While some non-native plants may survive well and look pretty, they will take over niches in the local ecosystem that local species need. That's kind of adding to the problem we're trying to solve with pocket prairies. So make sure you choose your seeds wisely and take into account how much these plants grow, what kind of sun they need, and what kind of soil, and how much they water. Remember that native plants are more resistant to droughts, floods, and cold snaps. 4. Plant! Everyone loves planting. Make sure you do it carefully. Dig your hole, make sure you don't disturb the root system of the plant that you're planting, and make sure the plants are fairly evenly spaced, and that they are stable so they won't fall over. If you want to plant in, say, the winter or the summer, you should probably wait for the spring or the fall, in traditional planting times that the plants are used to. To do this, you can have increased biodiversity by planting the plants in the time they need to be planted to survive. 5. Establish your prairie. Once you've planted it, it can look pretty satisfying, but it won't have filled in like this pocket prairie made by John Hart Asher just yet. Non-native species can invade your pocket prairie very early on and quickly take over, so you want to make sure you're weeding extra hard at first. Your plants will need water after their big transition from the pot to the prairie, so you want to make sure you're watering them too, but don't overwater. Once you're establishing your prairie, this is the dangerous time. This is the time where your prairie could be overrun, so make sure that it's growing well, that non-native plants are not coming in, and that your native plants are spreading. But let nature take its course, and soon you'll have a full-on ecosystem. Warning, nature never stands still. It will change. Rotate your seeds, move your prairie, and watch nature roll onward as your prairie gets established. With these themes, you might want to change your plants' positions around a little bit as they pollinate, flower, and then make seeds. These perennial plants may look like they die, but they don't. Remember, don't pull them. They'll bloom next spring. My garden always does, and sometimes, even after 3 years, it gets a small infestation of bugs. You want to make sure to clear that out. But you also want to see that your garden can handle itself and strengthen itself. So, in the end, you'll have a strong pocket prairie. The habitats that you are creating will take some years to be fully established, but after the first several months, it'll start gaining speed, and soon you'll have a beautiful pocket prairie to enjoy.
With research, planning, planting, and establishing, you can plant a living solution in your backyard. Building up biodiversity and green space one bit at a time can make a real difference, and a difference we need. We are living through the 6th mass extinction, and extinction rates are now higher than when the dinosaurs were wiped out. We need to create sustainable ways of life, and pocket prairies are one step closer to doing that. Now that you know what you can do and how, we can begin to make a lasting impact on our home. We hope this video sticks with you and you are able to enjoy quiet pleasures of a pocket of hill country prairie, or a little bit of biodiversity in your backyard. Maybe you will watch birds and butterflies and bees and know that you are part of a solution for life as we know it. Or perhaps you'll be just a bit happier as life goes on around us.
These are the resources we used to make the video, and if you want to, you can research more if you are interested. We have the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center, the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, the Katy Prairie Conservancy, the Texas Tribune, Central Texas Gardener, as well as the City of Austin website, videos and articles linked from the City of Austin website, the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department again, Austin.gov, City of Austin website, the PARD website, or Parks of City Parks of Austin Department, and UT Library, as well as wildflower.org or the LBJ Wildflower Center. Thank you, and that is all.